Welcome to the lesson on Contract Job Progress Billings. I'm currently at the Job Master Pro main menu, and I'm going to start in the Job Center screen by clicking the Jobs button on the toolbar. I'm going to bring up a contract job and take a look at it before we do a progress billing. First of all, you see the budget in the budget calculator area of the screen. And then in the actuals work in progress, you can see that we do have costs posted to the job, and all of the costs that are posted to the job show up in these three posting screens. So whether items have been posted to the job through AP or purchase orders or directly in the job posting screens, you can add all that information right in here. Now when I scroll to the right, I can also see the PO number that any of the items were posted from, or the AP invoice as a reference. And in the labor screen, the labor items could have come from the payroll program, posted directly to the job through payrolls, time card entry screen, or these items were posted to the job directly from this Job Center screen. I'm going to exit back to Job Center. And from Job Center, I'm going to click on Go To on the menu bar, Billing Center. So, at this point, what we want to do is tell Cobra what kind of an invoice we're going to be making. The D shows up automatically for a detailed invoice, which is more for time and material or service jobs. I'm going to change that to F for freeform, and as I press Enter, the material and format codes turn into asterisks, which means that there's no format code with these. Freeform invoices, you can type whatever you want on them. Now, before we actually go into the freeform screen, I'm going to show you a couple of other things too. And I mentioned a lot of these when I did the T&M invoicing video. Each user can have Cobra automatically have a check mark in the closed job or not. So I'll show you where you can change that in a moment, but if you have some people who do freeform invoices and other people who just do detail, this can be turned on or off by user. So if I click into the defaults, there are a few defaults I want to show you here. First of all, for freeform, the font that I generally recommend to select for freeform invoices is the Courier New font, because when it comes to freeform invoices, a lot of people like to line up and columnize things and have them print out evenly on their pages. So the Courier New font is the one I generally have people select there. Also, this is the closed job feature. So if one user, you always want that to say closed job when they come into Billing Center or not, you can turn this on or off appropriate for each user. Another feature that you may or may not want to use, this is kind of a nice one because a lot of people asked us over the years to tag the job items with the freeform invoice number. As you learn from the T&M invoicing, anytime you do an invoice for a T&M job, those job items get marked with that invoice number. A lot of people want to do the same thing with freeform, and then other people don't want the job items to be tagged with the invoice number. So this is a feature you can turn on or off according to your own taste, I guess. Now don't forget to save your options. And again, this has to be done per user. So don't forget that. I'm going to exit out of the defaults, come back to the Billing Center screen. Some other options that are used in conjunction with contract or progress billings are the limit to page feature. So if you only wanted to bill for a certain group of items that represents a group of items, you can select the page of the job. But this is more important here, the limit to date range. Because if you say limit to date range, what Cobra will do is gather the material, labor, all the job items for this date range and show you on the freeform screen that you'll see in a moment the costs and charges for this date range if you wanted to do a billing according to what you've already charged to the job. I'm going to turn this off for now. Now I'm going to save this, what we call invoice header, So there was an invoice number assigned to the invoice, and now we're in the freeform invoice detail screen. This is where we actually create our invoice. Now what we can do is type in line by line what we want on the invoice. So if we wanted to type in something like this, we can type that in, enter the amount of the invoice, break it out for material and labor, and as I press enter on material, labor deducts what was entered in material. I can do the same thing here, so that these three fields need to add up to the amount that you're billing for. Now, a key field or checkbox here at the lower left called skip cost fields. You can turn that on if you're not interested in separating out the cost of this invoice for the sales report. Not everybody uses the sales report, but the sales report, which is used primarily for tracking commissions and things of that nature, for each freeform invoice you have to tell it what the costs for what you're billing to get onto that sales report. So if you don't use it, turn this on, then you won't be bothered by these three fields. And I'm just going to press add. Now that's added to my invoice. Here's my invoice amount so far. Okay, so and then this breaks out the billing amounts. The job was not set up for tax, but had it been set up for tax, it would automatically be calculating the tax for this billing, and it will show a single line of tax on the invoice. Okay, if you want to hide your sales tax within the cost of the invoice, review the lesson called Freeform and Hiding Sales Tax in Cost. Okay, one other key thing, the job costs and charges. Remember what I said on the main billing center screen. If you say limit to date range, then the costs and charges that were posted to the job will show up down here as kind of a visual aid to you in creating this invoice. Now I can create line after line here on my freeform screen. The other thing I can do though is I can use a lot of these imports. I'm going to click open this imports feature on the upper right of the screen. I have many different imports. So if you wanted to import one freeform detail to another one, or you wanted to import proposal items onto this freeform invoice, like for residential progress billings, you could do that. You can import change order detail to this screen. Even job items can be imported to the freeform screen. The one I'm going to use though and show you is called standard paragraph. Standard paragraphs are a great way of building different paragraphs of verbiage that you use in proposals and freeform invoices, and also for your job notes. Okay, now I have several different samples of paragraphs in here that were already built. You can build these in Customer Center under Action, look for standard paragraphs, and you can click into the help system to learn how to read them. They're not very hard to work actually. But I've pre-built a paragraph called Contract Billings just to give you a taste of what paragraphs can look like. So when I double click on it, it posts the whole paragraph to the invoice. So I'm going to exit out of here and show you what it did. It brought the whole paragraph down, all these different lines. So if this is the kind of verbiage or similar verbiage that you have on your contract billings, then you could just come into each line, double click on it, and then at the end of the line, what you can do is within the body of the invoice, just put the applicable numbers for this progress billing. So if you wanted to recap the entire billing for this job, you can do that, and this is a great example of how to do that. So this standard paragraph is pre-built so that everything I need is here. I even know the end of the line where I can just type in dollar amounts that are appropriate to each one of these lines. So, because nothing that's in the body of the invoice, and this is considered the body, this whole description line, nothing that's in the body of the invoice will print on the invoice as far as any amount. Only something that was put into the actual amount fields here down below. So, let's save this. If I forget to save it and I try and exit, it will ask me to save this if I wanted to. When I exit out, I can preview the invoice, what it's going to look like. Now keep in mind I have a very wide screen here, so there's a lot of kind of dead space here, but when it prints out a lot closer together. Excellent. I'll exit out of that. And because the job was set up with retainage, if I were to actually print this invoice right now, remember right now it's in a print status in my batch, so it hasn't actually been printed yet. Only open invoices with an open status here are actually on the AR. But if I were to print this invoice right now, this is what it would do, is it would show the total invoice amount, how much of it was sales tax, and how much of it is retained balance. Now retained balance, I should probably talk about that for a moment, because retained balance, or retainage, is controlled by the job itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this invoice, although it's already been saved actually, but I'm going to go to the job center and I'm going to show you where the retainage percentage was set up. In the General tab on Job Center, the retainage percentage that is set up with the job at this moment is what the invoicing routine will calculate for retained balance on that invoice. So, let's go back to the Billing Center. There's our invoice. So I'm going to highlight it and click on the Go to Billing Center button. And I'm going to print it. Otherwise, if I want to go back and change it, I can go to Freeform screen and make my changes right on the detail. So that's where that is. Okay? But if I print it, and keep in mind that I don't have a printer attached here, so I'm going to create a PDF file. By the way, if you like the idea of emailing invoices, proposals, anything, purchase orders, read the help topic on setting up your printers for emailing, because you can do that through the program. Excellent. Now I'll get out of this PDF thing here too. So now the invoice has been printed, it's open, it's on the accounts receivable. We have access to it from the Job Center, right in the AR Invoices tab. You can preview it there. Let me exit. Let me go to Customer Center. That invoice is also in the Customer Center in the Invoices tab under Open Invoices at this point. There's the invoice we just did. We can also preview it here, reprint it, or to investigate further about accounting records, etc., we could actually go back to Billing Center. And here we can look at accounting records. We can look at payment history once we start getting payment history. Everything available at our fingertips here. This ends the lesson on contract job progress billings.